Well, I was really hoping to at least give it another week before I tried poking any dirt, but the dang weather guessers went and changed the forecast on me. Originally we had like a really slight chance of rain on Thursday, but it was like minuscule. I wasn't worried about it. Well, now that slight chance of rain has turned into a 90% chance of, they call it, steady showers in the morning, transitioning to snow in the afternoon, and then we got snow Friday. And then it looks like we got some chances of snow next week. So if I am gonna do any chisel plowing, it's gotta happen in the next 3 days. And as much as I really want to wait, we're at that point where it's not going to take a whole lot of moisture to turn it back the other way, and it'll be too wet again. And if I don't try it, I won't know. So I guess might as well try it. We'll start right here at Mom and Dad's and see how it goes. Probably getting to be time to flip them shovels. I'll run a few more acres, as long as they ain't falling off. Make sure they're all tight. I had trouble last spring when I was working ground. It was one of these back here kept wanting to come loose on me, which I never had that issue before. I don't know if bolts kept stretching or what, but nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Even if I only get 20 acres done, that's 20 acres less that I gotta worry about this spring. This field's also cheating a little bit because it's got tile in it. Actually, the mornings would be the better time to do this right now, because we've been, the last couple days, been getting some frosts that have been enough to put a little bit of crust on the ground. Actually, you can see it right there, even into this afternoon in the shadow that's still been hanging around. So, but I'm gonna work this field this away. I don't remember what angle I worked it at last fall, or last spring, whenever I chisel plowed it last. But I guess we'll see what happens, huh? Greasy down here. as well get out and have a feel. This thing really needs drove a little bit. The brakes are crusty from all that sitting outside and dead hauling combine around. Well, that don't look too bad at all. That's actually, I'm impressed. I mean, I'm still gonna have to be selective about which fields I pick, because like my uncle's, that's gonna be a no-go. It's still, I almost got stuck out there in a couple spots chopping stalks. So I mean, there ain't no sense in going to that one until I can do the whole thing. But I do have several fields that we can get over, so I think they should be about like this. Like I say, that spot right there we're probably gonna crawl through, but I'll be damned. Didn't figure it'd be chisel plowing in February. I've been waiting to get rid of these corn stalks. This has been bugging the crap out of me. All right, there's 7 acres done. That went a lot better than I thought. Surprisingly, the only spot I even had to feather the plow was down there in that little dork where it's all sand. There's a tile right through there, and right over top of the tile it was trying to go to China. But that worked up pretty nice. That's minty. So I'm gonna hop in the truck real quick and go check 2 more fields here in town. That way I don't drive there to find out they're too wet, and because I didn't really have a plan other than starting here. So I'm gonna go find another spot to go, and hopefully we can knock out a few more acres yet tonight. Well, I got halfway down to the house to hop in my truck and realized I drove the tractor over here today. I don't have my truck, so we're just gonna go into town, and there's 2 fields. There's a small 2-acre piece, and there's a 5-acre piece. I should be able to hopefully get on, so we will start at the small one and hopefully end at the big one. Well, 5 acres, big one. All right, on to some bean stubble. there should only be one spot in this field that's, man, it's a small spot, but it's a small field. I didn't see any water standing driving in, so, but it'll be right here where you see them little ruts from the combine. Yeah, there's a little bit of water standing there, but like up here, this is plenty dry. So this will probably be the only spot that's going to get a little greasy, but I think we'll be okay. And this is also one of them spots where if you don't break it open, it never dries out. This spot was wet all the way through the drought last summer. There's a spring that comes out. It's either a spring or drainage off of one of these houses, or there used to be a house right here, so Lord only knows. There's a septic tank or something. I've always been going to bring the Mini out and dig it up and bust the lid in and fill it up, so I quit hitting it, but it's just something that's never happened.
Pretty decent. It was just that little swale right there with the spring running through it. So we'll see if I can get one more field yet tonight. Maybe, if it's dry enough. Dry enough.
That's 14 acres knocked out. That last field had, you got even the spots that were rutted up. I'm walking right through them, but the spots that are always the trouble spots, even in a dry year, there's still trouble spots, but I've been getting through them, so. But I'm gonna go ahead and get some go-go juice sucked up in the old girl so it's ready for tomorrow. And we will see what tomorrow brings. So we will catch you guys tomorrow. And we're back for another fun-filled, exciting day. Starting off down here in God's country. Figure get my field down in Indiana knocked out while there's still daylight, so I'm not driving that far in the dark. This field will be plenty dry. It's always plenty dry. This field doesn't have a wet bone in its body. Although the hill might be a little slimy just because the frost hasn't. I guess it might be like yesterday. Yesterday I was fighting coming up the east facing slope because the sun hadn't been on it long enough to get the frost burn out of it. But I think we'll be okay today. So we're gonna come here, get this field done, and then on the way back catch another 10 acres. And by that point it'll probably be time to call it a night because it'll be dark on me. So pitter patter. One more knocked out. Not too bad. Pretty good indicator of how wet it is how much mud's sticking to the tires, and honestly there's really not a whole lot even sticking to the tires, so it can't be too, I mean, it's not, if it was end of March beginning of May and you were gonna have to think about working this stuff down rather quickly for planting, might still be a little wet, but since we're in February, I think we're still all right. So anyway, on to the next one. All right, this is probably gonna be the last one for the day. Which way? I'm trying to remember which way I chisel plowed this last year. Like I plowed it angled west to east, so this time we'll go east to west. had a couple greasy spots in it, but it still wasn't too well. It was one greasy spot, but it was long and narrow, and naturally I was going across it, not with it, so I kept hitting it. But I really wish this field had a spot that you could run tile to, because all the wet spots in this field could probably be fixed with less than 1,000 feet of tile in 2 separate runs. It needs one that follows the swale that cuts through the center of the field from the fence line, from fence line to fence line. If you laid one right down the center of that swale, it would, I think it would clean it up. I don't know how much surface water that swale takes. I'm guessing it's mostly subsurface, because you never really see anything running over the top. It's always just standing on top. But if you can run a tile down through there, which is, I don't know, you have to wheel it off. I don't think it's 1,000 feet. And then the patch of trees over there, if you cleaned up the trees and ran a tile from the woods up to where those trees are, and then probably took it and ran it down the fence line and teed it into the one that you run down the swale, that would clear up this entire field's wet problem. But there's nowhere to put an outlet. Everything on the other side is not, you'd have to work with other landlord or landowners, which is a pain in the ass on a tile project, and B, it's all too shallow to run tile to anyhow. So this is one of them fields where it'd be really easy to tile. There's just nowhere to put an outlet, so there's nowhere to tile to. So anyhow, I'm gonna go home, go back to mom and dad's, put fuel in the tractor, and then I think, because we're supposed to have one more day of decent weather before that rain comes on Thursday. There's one more field, actually it's a pair of fields right next to each other. Actually, it's the one that we rutted the heck out of trying to get beans cut. I'd really like to go get those two, because then that would basically finish up everything on this side of town, and I could start working my way east when the time comes. But I just don't think there's too many wet spots in that one field, and I just don't think it's gonna go. So rather than wasting time leaving the tractor over here to turn around and drive over there tomorrow and find out it's too wet in the wet holes, I think I'm gonna get fuel in the tractor, run it back to my house, and then there's several fields on the east side of town that I know for sure we can get over and I'm not scared of, and I think it'd just be better off to go in that direction and not waste time dicking around on fields that might not go. So I will guess we will catch you guys tomorrow at my house for the jumping off point over there. And we're back for our last day. It's supposed to start raining tonight. We've got chances of rain pretty much all day tomorrow. They just can't come to terms with how much rain we're actually going to get, so hopefully we don't get much. If it doesn't rain a whole lot, I think we're going to need a little bit of Earl. If it doesn't rain a whole lot, we might have a shot at getting a little bit more done next week if it dries out. Yep, she's gonna want a drink. 3208 things. So let me get some oil in this old girl and we'll get rolling. Alright, and we're finally here. That turned into a little bit of a fiasco. I went to put oil in the tractor. Realized I did not have a drop of 1540 at the house, so I had to run back to mom and dad's after I just dropped the dogs off over there to get oil to come back. So there went 20 minutes of the day. that field's done. I got lucky. I happened to catch the lady that lives here. Is kind of hard to talk to since her husband died. She's a little bit reclusive, but I finally managed to catch one of her daughters out and asked her about cleaning this pasture up to add it to this. And there's probably, this is 4 acres. There's probably at least another 3.5 or 4 that wraps all the way around that house, maybe even a little bit more by the time you clean it all up. But it would probably damn near double the size of this field, make it more worth coming up here for, and maybe would, the more you get out here, maybe the less the deer would screw with it, or maybe the more they'd screw with it, I don't know. But either way, asked them if they'd be interested in clearing that pasture off. I told them I'd do the cleaning, and they said that, or she said her mom would probably be interested in it. It's obviously nothing I'd be able to screw with yet this winter, because we've already got 20 irons in the fire, it feels like. But probably get done with planting next spring and bring the excavator, if she decides to go ahead and do it, bring the excavator over next spring, and when we get done with planting and work on that would be ideal. So might have that to look forward to. All right, this will probably be the last one we get for the, well, this will be the last one we get for the day. Out here on the wheat stubble, where I tried plowing with the 77 and it was too hard, and then I was going to come rip it, and the 4150 decided to light itself on fire. So get this 11 done and we'll call it a night. And there's another one knocked out. So that's 7 fields and like 42, 43-ish acres done so far. So that's 40 more acres than what I had to begin with. Tell you what though, I really wish I could have got this field ripped, because them loggers that were out here this summer, they fucked this thing with a capital F. I mean, this was it was terrible. There's 7.5 acres on this side of the driveway, and it's like they took it upon themselves to figure out how much of it they could use, and they decided to use all of it. I mean, there were skid roads everywhere. They had a big ass landing out in the back that it was like plowing concrete. I didn't know that ground could be that hard this time of year. It was terrible. And it's like it was sterile. There wasn't a single, like the whole field had grown up to weeds, but everywhere that there was a skid road and everywhere, or back there in landing, there wasn't a single thing growing. The dirt was still brown on top. There was, and normally the entire west fence line on this field, especially this time of year, you might as well figure on it being grease. It's just, there's 2 springs there. It's just that fence, or that, like the outer 4 or 5 passes along the entire west fence line is normally just wet no matter what time of year it is. Bone dry. It's like they got the ground packed so hard and consolidated so much, water can't even percolate through it. It's just, I'm not saying this field's never gonna be right again. It's just gonna be a while before it's right again. This was it was terrible. It just, wow. So anyhow, that's, yeah, it, I don't know. And there's 2 springs back there that normally have water standing on top of the ground. It's like the springs aren't even there. It's like they pounded the spring shut and the water can't get to the top of the ground anymore. It was, I didn't slip, well, I should say that. I was slipping tires, but it's because the plow was pulling so hard it was shuddering going through the ground, and I was spinning, but there was no dirt coming up on the lugs. I wasn't even spinning because it was greasy. It was just that damn hard. It's insane. So, I don't know. I don't have very high hopes for how this field's going to, I mean, it might surprise us, but I don't have very high hopes for how this field's going to turn out this summer. I got a feeling I'm going to be taking a pretty good yield hit just because of how screwed up the ground. All I can hope for is hopefully we have a dry fall next fall and I can get out here after I get the corn off and rip it. It's terrible. Like, there was at least 5 skid roads, but only 1 landing, so I don't know where. Like I say, there's 7.5 acres over here, just like they decided that they were going to figure out how much of it they could use. It's just stupid. But anyhow, that's enough of that for tonight. This video's already gotten long enough, so I'm gonna get this thing back to my house, get the plow on hook, get the silver bullet back in the shed so that it's not getting rained on tonight. And tomorrow we will probably be back on the applicator, so hopefully we don't end up with much rain, and maybe next week, if it dries back out enough, we might be able to catch a couple more fields before it starts snowing on us again. So anyhow, that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.